Made the transition from dance into acting. How have your experiences as a dancer lent themselves to your work on screen?
So definitely I think my skill set for dance, like in like my ability to stay really focused and my ability to work really hard, having like really good discipline has definitely been really helpful. But it's kind of funny because I always joke like ballet and dance, even though it shouldn't be maybe, is like really focused on perfection. And
Mm,
acting is kind of like the antithesis to perfection. So that's been like a massive hindrance that I have to spend every day trying to undo because you can't be perfect and act. You have to be like go with the flow and let accidents happen, which is really interesting.
yeah, great answer. When you look at your career as a whole, who or what has had the biggest influence, either personally or professionally?
um, for my career as a whole, I think personally this is going to sound so cheesy, but my parents, because they never doubted my ability to be in the arts. They never were like, "Oh, don't do that." When, I couldn't dance anymore, my mom really encouraged me to start taking acting classes just to like keep doing things in the arts. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. And I think professionally, I'm always really inspired by the instructors I choose to work with. I'm
Mm,
really careful with who I work with, because it really matters what you absorb into your life. And so the people I am really fortunate to work with are so inspiring and cool. And so like they're just constantly feeding me with advice and I'm learning every day. And so I think like, yeah, my parents and my instructors, which sounds really cheesy, but it's
No,
true.
that's a great answer. I love that. And, you've had a lot of success already in your young career. When you look back, is there a particular moment that stands out to you?
I think a particular moment for me is probably when I was cast in my first indie feature film in a supporting role for Come True, which is now out under IFC Films. And it was the first time that I realized that I could really do this seriously as a career and started looking at moving into a city where film was being produced on a more regular basis. It was just really life-changing to see how a full movie comes together and that it's a business and you can do it.
You've got a new project out now. Can you tell us about Cruel Summer season two? And what was it initially about this script and a character that attracted you to it?
So Cruel Summer season two is like a mystery teen thriller. It's this season, the show is an anthology. So this season is
Yeah.
brand new mystery, new story. And what attracted me to it is, I mean, first of all, it's really, really well written. It's really fun. The characters all have a lot of depth. When I got the offer for Amy, they asked if I would go blonde, and I thought she was going to be this very like 90s stereotypical blonde, which was going to be super fun to do, but I was really delighted that she actually has a lot of depth and she's not just a
Yeah.
mean girl the way I thought. So it was fun to just be able to really lean into this period piece of the 90s and really get to be a whole person in that time frame.
Yeah, the first season was incredibly well received. Did that add any pressure as you headed into this project?
It did, but I was really lucky. So I'm actually Canadian, and so it didn't air in Canada. So I'd heard from everyone how well received it was, but I hadn't seen it firsthand. So I was lucky because I kind of just got to like block it out and I was just like, I'm an actor, I do callbacks, I book shows, whatever. And then I got to set and I listened to all the American actors start telling me about the first season. And I was like, oh, this is a much bigger deal than I let myself realize.
You touched upon this already, but one of the benefits of television as a medium is the opportunity to really grow with a character, and often you're learning more and more about them as the season goes on. What's been the most surprising thing about Amy's journey?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the most surprising thing about Amy's journey for me, which, like I said, kind of started at the beginning, is she's not a stereotype and she really loves her friends and she really cares. And it was, it would have been so easy for her to just be mean and nasty and say cutting things, but that's, not the direction that the showrunner took. Um, and I think actually Amy gets more sensitive. She starts out
Yeah.
really like fluffy and light, and she gets a little bit more sensitive and reflective as the show goes on. And I really enjoyed that about her.
And part of your preparation for this project included immersing yourself in the Y2K era by consuming shows like Buffy. Is that normally how you prepare for a role? Why was it so fundamental to this process?
It actually isn't normally how I prepare. I don't think I if when it's a period piece, it's fun to do that. And I really leaned into it. And like I said, yeah, I was watching Buffy and I got really into X-Files too. Um, Normally I'm much more focused on the work. I'm much more technical. I'm a Meisner trained actor, so like, I do all that stuff. Yeah, so that's not how I normally prepare, but it was really fun. And I think I'm gonna do it from now on if it's
Mm,
fun to just build your world around them. And I think music is something that a lot of actors use, not everybody, but a lot just to reset your day and get yourself in the right, mind frame and tone every day when you start. The other thing I do is I like to do like, like wiggle my body and do like a nice little stretch in the morning so that you're like centered and ready to like do everything you need to do.
Speaking of music, did you create a playlist for Amy? Do you remember what was on it?
I didn't, and I should have. I just sort of went fishing through for things. I need to get better at making playlists. But I listened to a lot of Alanis Morissette,
Mm.
and I listened to all like the top 40 hits too. Let me think. I mean, we have some really good music in the show. And so if there was anything specifically referenced, which I can't tell you guys what it is, but if there was specific things that we were doing, I was listening to that a lot too, because they were referenced in the script pretty often. I know a lot
Mm.
of shows add the music later, but for this show, they knew where they were going with it.
Yeah, that's so smart. And in a series where everything is so high stakes, your character brings a lot of levity. How much fun is it for you as an actor to be the one that brings that kind of juxtaposition?
So much fun. I mean, I can do really serious acting, but it's
Yeah.
really fun to come to work and just be like, I'm just here. I'm just gonna do whatever. It was really fun. I worked really well with Bill Purple, who was one of our primary directors. And there was one take where he was doing something and I like did it and he called cut and I turned around and looked at him and he was just like laughing so hard. And he was like, I wish we were making a straight comedy because I want you to just be able to take the lid off. So that always felt nice. Whenever I got like the team and I got everybody laughing, I was like, I'm doing my job.
And, like you were mentioning earlier too, all these characters within the show, they have so many layers to them. While Amy starts off as this kind of carefree person, she has this internal struggle that happens as the season goes on. You brought so much depth to that. How did you create the space for yourself to kind of tap into that vulnerability?
That's my job. I don't know. For me, I feel like I've been really fortunate and I've had really, like I said, supportive instructors. So I've been able to build that vulnerable place inside myself
Mm.
over time. And I kind of practice finding it every day. I'm a very vulnerable person. So for me, I kind of settle into it more easily. Luckily. But definitely if you're having a stressful day or if maybe like you have some personal life drama or something, it's a lot harder to find. And when I do have those harder days, again, I kind of have to get into my body. I have to shake it out. Sometimes I literally lie on the floor and just breathe to like get
Mhm.
my whole body some oxygen.
Yeah.
And that usually helps recenter me.
Yeah, and you're such a standout in this series. Is there a particular scene or episode that you're really excited for audiences to see?
Yes, there's one that I'm really excited just because there's a costume where the reference is so clear what's being referenced. And I think people are going to absolutely flip. I should double check what episode it is. I think it's episode 4 or 5. And when we shot it, I just was beside myself. I was like, this is so much fun. Everyone's going to lose it. So I'm really excited. And it's silly. I'm just excited for everyone to see that moment.
That's a great teaser. And you've got the cast has such incredible chemistry. How were you all able to build that and give a favorite kind of behind the scenes moment?
I think for us, we spent, because it's a big ensemble scenes, like
Yeah.
those days that we were shooting the scenes, you would get to work at 4 o'clock in the morning and we would be there for 15, 16 hours all day long. So you get to bond really quickly when no one was going, literally none of us could go back to our trailers, like maybe for lunch, sometimes not. So we were just all in a tent together every day for 16 hours. So you get to know each other really well, really fast.
And there's so many universal themes that the show will tackle throughout the course of the second season. Was there one in particular that hit home for you?
I think
Mm.
female friendships are really complicated and really hard. And God knows I've had my fair share of struggles, navigating them, healing things, ending them. I don't know. Like that's just for my personal life. And so I think seeing friendships that are complicated and really close really hits home. And so I really enjoyed seeing how it all played out. And that wasn't even, I mean, Amy and Kelly are best friends and they don't have a lot of conflict. They love being together. So that was very easy, but I loved watching Megan and Isabella's
Yeah.
storylines play out.
Well, I got one final question for you. This is such an exciting time in your career. As you look ahead, is there a dream role that you would love to bring to life?
There are so many. I mean, okay, a dream role, a really silly, do you want to know a silly dream role versus a serious dream
Let's do
role?
both.
Okay, my silly dream role is they just announced that they're doing a live action adaptation of Miles Morales. And when I watch Spider-Verse, I love Spider-Gwen so much. And she has
Mm,
like she has a background in ballet, and she has her little blue point shoes. And I just watched the second one, and her movements, they've animated like even more ballet into her. And I'm like, I want to be Spider-Gwen so bad. And then but my serious one is that I have this background in movement. I want to play superheroes. I I want to do big crazy period pieces that have insane costumes, because it was really fun with Cruel Summer, but it's still grounded in the 90s, and I want to do something just massive. And then I'm also writing, and I'm working on producing my very first short film, and I'm going to direct it as well. So I'm also moving into kind of behind the camera scenes stuff. So that's what I see for my career. All of the above.
well, that actually, I lied. That I have got one more question for you. As
Okay,
you've
let's
now
go.
dived into kind of producing and acting, have you found that the work that you've now done behind the camera is impacted the way that you approach your work on screen?
Yes, I think it's actually made me even more secure, because I now see
Mm,
from the other side, when you get like pages of script, and the writer says something so specific, you're like, I have to get it exactly what the writer says. And now, being the writer, I'm like, I just want you to understand what I'm thinking and then do something even better. And I've always heard that, but now I know in my bones it's true. And also, I see how every single piece matters, and every single person who is part of a project counts. And that's really special, because especially as you're coming up, sometimes when your very first acting role is like one line and you feel like you don't matter, but on the other side of it, you matter.
yeah.
Everyone wants you to be there, and I'm really excited to start creating work and like create that environment where everyone feels like they're making something that matters and that they matter. So yeah.